One that calls to make a choice, to take a leap, leave behind the noise, march right off the map and break free in territory unknown. Most will never even hear it, but we, the creators, live for it. Journeys full of close calls, detours and dead ends, waking to beat the sunrise, heading into the cold rain and heat. For what? To wait. Just to wait. Because we know that a path emerges to those who do, and the light finds those who seek. A way to moments where everything, for a split second, falls into place. But it never really lasts, and the beauty we saw is gone in a flash, and the sun won't ask for our permission to set, nor will nature take our advice. And no matter how hard we try to wrestle with time, it will never submit. So what should we do? Just let it go? Give up? Give in? We could. But we won't. Because we are a rare breed. Ready to go where others won't, and unwilling to let those moments go gently into the night without a fight. Time is not the enemy, but a formidable foe. Together we prepare, we wait, and we outsmart it. Defy the moment with OM System.
Hey guys! How's it going? I haven't seen you guys in a while, but tonight is such a cool night. This is such an extra special episode, and I'm really excited that we have all of you guys on here. I'm seeing all kinds of people from Maryland, from Texas, and a civilized time for us Aussies down under. Speaking of Aussies, tonight we have a very special guest. Sorry, I said that wrong. It's Aussies, isn't it? Aaron
Yeah, that's
Harivel.
closer. Yeah.
So Aaron is my counterpart down in Australia, and he is going to be joining us tonight while we talk about the super exciting thing that I'm sure you guys all know about because it's been all over the internet all day. If you haven't heard, it's the OM1, right? Aaron's not excited. I'm excited. I'm super jazzed.
No, I am super excited. It's been such a long time coming, and thank you so much for having me on with you guys. It's an absolute pleasure, and yeah, we are all hopefully as super excited as what all of you guys are as well, because we've got some great detail to take you through. And yeah, it's hopefully we answer all of the questions that you have as well. So that's why we do these live. We want to hear from you guys too.
It's true. And tonight, if you were on earlier today and you saw our UK version in English, it's going to be a similar kind of showdown tonight. But you know what? Aaron and I are a lot of fun, so stick around and check it out, right? We're going to be going over some of the key features in the OM1 and talking about some of the new changes that are coming out of this camera. If you are really excited to see some real reviews and output images, you should definitely join us on February 24th. We are going to have another day of all-day live streaming. It's called OM System Day, and I'm going to link that in just a minute once we get started so you guys can check it out and come view our events all day. They'll be in multiple languages, multilingual, global show, showcasing different photographers who've shot with the OM1. But for now, maybe we should jump into the presentation, right, Aaron?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. So I guess you guys are ready, right? You're ready to hear about what's going on with OM System. This is our new path that we're all going on together, and I'm super excited that you guys are coming along with us. And so let's go on that path. It begins right here in the wild. On a path, we're on that path. And above the worries of the world. Because your frame can only be as full as the experience. Welcome to the wild side.
And welcome to the OM1. So hopefully some of you guys have been following our brand for a really long time. I'm sure a lot of you have done, actually. But it's been 50 years since the original OM1 film camera came out. So to take a new camera to a new level, like what we've done with this new digital camera, it's a brilliant thing to be able to sort of leverage that heritage against the original OM1, because the things that we're going to talk about today, guys, is these 5 points, but really we're here to answer your questions as well. We want to get as much detail out in your heads and hands as much as possible. So as we go through each of these points, we're going to stop and have a little break, check the comments, and answer your questions as we go along. But these 5 points are the really key things that we want to focus on for the new camera. So first thing, next generation image quality. So the big focus around this is the new sensor and processing engine, but there's a little bit more to it on top of that as well, which is really cool. Next, we move into computational photography. So those of you who will be familiar with some of their previous models, so the EM1 Mark III and the EM1X in particular, they really took that computational photography to another level, and it's gone to another level again with this new camera. Next, unparalleled speed. So no doubt you guys have already seen some of the speed specs online. We're going to talk about a little bit more detail of how that's achieved and what it actually means in the real world as well, because there's lots of things that you sort of see on paper and say, oh yeah, that's great. Like that's a really high number compared to, what else is out there. But what is it actually going to help you achieve? That's what we want to talk about with speed. Next, a new benchmark for absolute reliability. So those of you who are already in the Olympus family, this new OMSYSTEM camera again takes that ruggedness to the next level, being the perfect outdoor companion no matter what the condition that you're shooting in. And then finally move into video capabilities. So this is actually something that's incredibly exciting because we've always been such a stills focused brand and we've made leaps and bounds in the video space in the last couple of years. We're going another big leap forward for us with this new OM1 camera as well, which is really exciting. So cool, let's get started. So as you can see on screen here, we got lots of all the key points that we're going to cover off today, guys. Some of these individual points will probably be a little bit more exciting to you depending on the style of photography that you mainly shoot. But I think as a total package, that's what we wanted to wrap up for you guys, is that regardless of what you shoot and how you shoot, this camera is really going to be a benefit to you. So to begin with, let's start with next generation image quality. So as I mentioned before, the new image sensor and processing engine that we have with this new camera are absolutely cutting edge. And it's something that I know has been in development for quite a long time. But the most important parts of this new sensor is that we're getting better resolution, and I'll actually explain what a BSI stacked sensor is and why it's actually a benefit in a second. But really the big benefits that you're going to see here, not just from baseline resolution, you're also going to see much higher improvements to noise production compared to what we've seen before, and also a big jump in dynamic range as well, which is everything you kind of expect from a new sensor. But a lot of it is actually driven by the new processing engine that we have, so the TruePic X. So the brilliant thing about this is that it's not just super powerful, it's super fast. So you're looking at 3 times the processing power of any generation of sensor that we've had in any previous generation camera, and it obviously enables us to do things like 120 frame per second readout, which when we get to speed you'll understand what we're talking about with that if you haven't seen those already. And finally, image stabilization. So this is something that we're very, very proud of what we bring to market. We do it a little bit differently to some of the other guys that are out there as far as the physical mechanism that we use. So the way that our image stabilization works is that it's actually floating on magnetic gyros. So the sensor is never touching anything, but there's massive benefits to that, which means that it can move quicker, it can stop quicker, it can move in smaller increments, and it can be programmed. And that's how we do our things like high resolution shot, whether you're shooting on tripod or whether you're shooting in by hand. But with this new IS unit that they put into this camera, they've made it stronger, more reliable, and a lot lighter as well. So if it's a lot lighter, then obviously it's a lot easier to maneuver as well, which is really, really cool. So, image quality. So again, we're talking about a new level of resolution out of this new 20 meg sensor, but I want to explain actually what that actually means and how we're able to achieve that, because we've had 20 megapixel sensors in the past. We've actually taken this level of resolution to another level even though we're still shooting with 20 megapixels. And the way that we actually do that is the actual construct of the sensor. So what you've got on screen here is basically a picture of how a traditional CMOS sensor, so what we've previously used, is laid out. So it starts at the very top and then works its way down into the photodiode. So as you can see on the very top there, you've got your micro lenses and your color filters. So this is where your light's being captured and coming through the sensor. Now, probably the biggest downside to a CMOS sensor or a traditional design is that you've actually got all these wires, you've got all those electronics in between where the photodiode is, where you actually want the light to go to. Now, obviously massive improvements have been made to the construct of this over the years, but in the last few generations, they've actually moved on to what we call a stacked sensor, or sorry, a BSI sensor, I should say. So as you can see by the construct, they've actually moved a lot of those electronics to underneath where the light is actually being captured on those photodiodes. Now, the massive step for this is better noise performance. So that's a massive, massive step, and again, a big way that we're able to improve our noise suppression with this new sensor. But what we're actually doing is using a stacked BSI sensor. So what we've got here is all of those layers of electronics completely underneath with logic boards. And all of this construct allows us to have faster sensor readout, higher sequential shooting rates, as we'll talk about in a little while, and then 2 times higher autofocus accuracy compared to the EM1 Mark III and also the EM1X. And that's where we actually get into the new exciting system that we're actually using for our autofocus. Now, what we're actually calling this is cross quad pixel autofocus. Now, some of you might be familiar with the technology called dual pixel autofocus. It works absolutely brilliantly, but really the only disadvantage to it is that it actually operates in sort of like a horizontal plane. It goes left to right because the pixels are split in half. What we've actually done with this new construct is that each pixel is broken into 4. Which means that it not only can operate left to right and read information, but it can also read vertically as well. So that means you're getting the best of both worlds, movement in all directions, and you've got that sensor readout that can go super, super fast, and obviously the processing power to be able to bring it all together as well. So also, complete frame coverage from our autofocus points as well, which again, you would expect from a modern camera. You've also got 1,053 points to choose from as well, which is absolutely brilliant. And it means that you're never going to miss a shot with this new sensor. Sorry, just saw a comment pop up here from John. So did we establish whether the old wired remote will still work with the OM1? It does still have the 3.5mm jack on there, so I believe that it should do. And also there is a new wireless remote, which also comes with a physical cable, which will be able to attach to camera as well. So thank you for your question, John. That's a really good comment. Now, noise performance. So what does that actually mean? So for those of you who are already within the Olympus and OM system family, if you shoot with any of our EM1 series cameras, so an EM1 Mark II or Mark III or maybe even an X, you'll notice that the automatic ISO range goes up to 6400. Now that was the native range of that particular sensor. What we've been able to expand again with this new sensor and processing engine is expand that auto or actual available native range of this new sensor all the way up to 25,600. So I've been absolutely staggered and blown away about what I've been able to achieve with this so far. And no doubt when you guys actually get your camera in hands, you'll be blown away about what you can do with this as well, because ISO has obviously been something that's been promoted as a big advantage for when you're shooting full frame. We've now actually got the detail, the speed, and obviously the ISO performance that you need in all conditions. So this is a giant leap forward for not just for us, but for the industry. It's really going to set a new benchmark for noise performance for any smaller sensor camera down from full frame. And finally, that image processing engine, so the TruePic X, some little detail on this as well, just to show you just how much they've worked on this and the R&D and development that's gone into this new processing engine. It's actually 3 times faster than the TruePic 8 and 9, which we've seen in previous generation EM1 series cameras. But the big benefits also, 3 times faster autofocus calculation. So again, it's about speed, but it's also about that quad pixel autofocus system at the same time. 60 times more computational power. So for those of you who might have an EM1 Mark III or an EM1X, when you're shooting either handheld high res or on tripod, you'll actually find that that is less than half the time when you're putting all of those images together to achieve those high resolution shots. So amazingly fast. So as we just, on my next points, I'm getting ahead of myself already. So much faster to process all of those images, and also so much faster to process stacked images in camera as well. And again, new algorithm based to help us with noise reduction based on sensor characteristics. So all of those things all working together, giant leap forward for us. So you're going to see those benefits regardless of the style of photography that you shoot. I've got some beautiful examples in here as well, because look, it's all about real world, isn't it? It's all about what we can, not what we can do in a lab, but what we can actually do out in the field. And when we've got such a beautiful, portable, small, light, fast system, these are the sorts of shots that we want to be showing to you guys. So regardless of whether you do shoot birds and wildlife, people, landscapes, all of these things are always going to be a benefit for you. And you can see the richness of color that we're getting out of these, out of this new camera as well. It's not just about speed. Again, that detail and resolution is absolutely brilliant as well, which you would expect from a new camera, of course. And again, high ISO performance. So again, it wasn't like you couldn't shoot at higher ISO with our previous model cameras. It's just you've got that broader native automatic range that you'd be able to sort of let the camera do the work for you without having to sort of make those selections beforehand. You can just trust that camera in any environment that you're going to be able to get that shot and get it beautiful, sharp and clean. Also, big step in dynamic range. So as I said, we're looking at a stop better than anything we've had in a previous generation camera. And again, what you would expect from a new camera and sensor. But one of the things that we probably don't talk about enough is that when we're talking about high resolution shot, you're actually getting another 2-stop improvement when you're compositing those images in camera. And that happens either handheld or via tripod as well, which is really cool. So it means that, yes, you still have the ability to bracket and stack either in or out of camera. But even just straight from a singular capture, you're going to see more dynamic range, so more detail in those shadows and highlights than we ever have done before, which is absolutely beautiful. To put that into practice for you, so this image actually came, or images actually came from my counterpart Mikhail over in Germany. So if any of you are joining from Europe, you may have seen Mikhail before. An absolute superstar, and he was responsible for generating a lot of the detail that we're showing you guys today. So big shout out to Mikhail if he's watching, or if he watches the recording later on.
I think he's probably in bed now.
Yeah, I was going to say, I was thinking about European times. You're 100% right. But here we've got like a really high contrast scene. So you've got really bright shadows at the end of this ice cave. These are the sorts of things that you can do with a tiny, tiny little tweak. So a couple of cool points as well. There is going to be an update to the Olympus Workspace platform. So I'll touch on that in a little while, but I thought it's good to mention now because it's a free editing software that OMSystem produces for your camera, and obviously it's backwards compatible with all the Olympus cameras as well. The engine that is in that, it's made by Olympus for Olympus, and obviously made now for OMSystem for OMSystem. So if you guys haven't downloaded that before, you can download that from your respective countries' websites. It's absolutely gorgeous, the results that you can get out of that software, and obviously it's been upgraded to support the new camera as well. So tiny little tweaks, but obviously they make a big difference to your image after the fact. So again, regardless of the environment that you're in, even when we're talking lighting, the camera's still going to have you covered. And finally, tiny little touch on IS unit. So again, it's something that we're extremely proud of with the way that we image stabilize, whether it be shooting in stills or video. There's been big improvements to the physical design of this IS unit, as I mentioned before, but it's actually one step better at correcting for, I should say, rolling compensation. Unfortunately, that we can't actually, the rating for the camera is still going to be at 7 stops, because the way they actually test these, they're still tested on a physical jig that only does pitch and yaw. So what the downside to that is that you're not actually seeing the full benefit of that rolling stabilization, where the sensor is actually physically on that rolling plane. So there's been an actually big step up for this as well, and you'll actually see this more in real world than you will in a lab test, I suppose. The other change and advantage for this new camera as well is that you can actually enable the stabilizer while you're shooting in things like live composite or live time. With previous generations of camera, that was actually disabled, whereas with the new camera, you can use that, and there's also a handheld assist function in there as well, which helps you keep that camera super steady instead of sort of using that very old school technique of keeping one eye on the viewfinder and the other eye sort of looking down your lens barrel to see how much your camera's moving. It's all built into the camera for you now as well, which is really cool. Okay, So
we take a
that's our,
take a breather?
yeah,
Get in there.
yeah, that's our image quality section, guys. Mishalla, I'm sure we've got some comments and some other things that the guys are putting in there.
Yeah, there was a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions about the battery chargers, which it is it's a new battery, guys. It's not backwards compatible. It is BLX1 is the new battery. I think it's been answered a couple of times in there, but it is a different battery, just so you guys know.
Sure. And that is a big deal as well, because you're actually looking at 20% more battery life than anything that we've had in previous generations as well. So it's, I suppose, when you're talking about sort of a new powerful camera, you want to absolutely get the most out of that, because SEPA testing is 520 frames, but the reality is, and one of our guys in Australia actually took out a camera last week and did some sort of high speed shooting. Classic cars as well as high-speed GT3 cars, and if I remember correctly, you got something in the realm of 3,000 shots on a singular battery charge. Now, the other cool thing about that, and we can talk about that when we actually talk about the battery in a little bit more detail, but one of the things that you might not know about your previous model Olympus cameras, and obviously with the new OM1 as well, when you use the electronic shutter, you're not contributing to your physical shutter actuation, and you're actually using less battery power in order to do that. So if you're prioritizing the electronic shutter, you're actually going to extend your battery life quite considerably, even if you are doing, continuous focus tracking, or whether you're doing subject recognition tracking, all that sort of thing. You're still going to get a massive extension to your battery life by using that electronic shutter, and the OM1 obviously takes that to another level as well.
That's correct.
Cool.
I also just want to show this really quick because you just killed it again. Cam says that Aaron has the TruePic X on board. He's killing these specs so good. You are like a robot. It's amazing. You're just filling specs like nobody's business right now, so fast. So it's true.
Thank you, Cam. We definitely like to we drill ourselves pretty heavily before we like to get in front of camera. So. Thank you. I do very much appreciate that. Thank you very much. But as I said, folks, if there's things that we haven't covered, or there's things that you want to know by the time we get to the end, because obviously we've got some time for Q&A at the end of the session. If it's in regards to what we're talking about now, then Mishalla will throw that straight up on the screen, so I know that you want some more detail. Otherwise, if there are things that we're not sort of talking about in that particular category, don't panic. We're going to get to them. We've got all the Q&A session towards the end as well.
Absolutely. So should we talk about computational photography? Let's get into the fun, creative stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it. So, again, if any of you folks are already shooting with an EM1 Mark III or an EM1X, handheld high-res shot is something that you're already familiar with. We've already talked about how the processing engine makes this so much faster to actually deliver you that final result. But the engineers have been really, really clever about the way they've actually laid the camera out straight out of the box. So your functions will operate completely independently from when you're shooting in video mode versus stills. But when you go straight into stills mode, straight out of the box as soon as you get your camera, that red button that you would traditionally use to record video goes straight into your high-res shots. Now, a couple of things that I've found work really, really well, maybe this is a bit long-winded, I might leave this to the end, but what is so cool about this is that once you tap that button, it'll go straight into the last high-res function that you set. But if you want to change it, it's super easy and fast to do. All you've got to do is press and hold that button and roll the rear control wheel at the back of the camera, and it'll toggle between off, tripod, and handheld really, really quickly. And then to switch it off, tap that button once and you're back straight to your regular shooting mode again. So really, really fast, really, really intuitive in the way that you want to operate it. But of course, completely customizable like what we've always done as well, which is really cool. Okay, live neutral density filter. So again, if you have an EM1 Mark III or an EM1X, these were the first two cameras in the entire world, in the entire market, to have a function like this. It's absolutely fantastic for anybody with any lens that you put in front of any of these cameras, because it means that you don't have to carry around either drop-in filters or big cows or even screw-on filters. It lets you achieve that same effect that you would do with a traditional physical filter. But that's only half the story. The other half of it is that you actually see through your viewfinder or your LCD screen exactly what that sensation of movement in your shot is going to look like. Now, they've taken it to another whole level with this new camera, with the OM1. So with previous generations, it was up to ND32. They've pushed this another full stop all the way up to ND64. Now, it's very clever in the way that this actually happens. The way it actually happens is, for example, if we're shooting at ND64, so we're at the strongest level of filtering, whatever shutter speed you actually select for this, it's actually going to break that exposure down into 6 smaller segments. So you're getting the benefit of the effect of limiting your ambient light, but again, it's actually going to show you on your screen what that's going to look like. So instead of having to take multiple shots and sort of going, oh, okay, I like this, I don't like this, all of it happens in real time in front of you. So not only streamlines that process, but you still get beautiful results out of it as well. So I'm really interested to see how far this part of the technology can be pushed, because as I said, it's already been pushed by full stop with the OM1. I'm really interested to see how far this can go, because this is an absolutely sensational function that's probably initially very much targeted towards landscape photographers. But I think there's a benefit for anybody who wants to create those sensations of movement within their shot and see it in real time. So that's really exciting too. Next, AI detection autofocus. So this is something, again, we've seen before with an EM1X. It was actually one of the first cameras to market with this sort of technology. As you can see by my little demo video here, it's super, super fast. You're talking faster than we've ever seen before in any previous generation. But there's actually a lot going on in order to achieve this as well. So it's not just the cross-quad pixel autofocus physical system. What that's actually doing is creating additional data to be used with color and also contrast information, and that creates a depth map to track the subject. So again, all of these things are enabled by that new processing engine and obviously the new sensor as well, but that's only part of it. There's actually a little bit more to this as well. So as you can see, real world results, we're talking high speed, losing our actual line of sight to our actual subject, but we're still achieving beautiful, super detailed results, especially when we're shooting really quickly, which is obviously how this has been designed to do. Also, focus stacking and focus bracketing. So we've seen this in previous generations as well. This just happens so much faster. And again, it's all down to that processing engine that's built into the camera. Also, as I touched on before with the new IS unit, it actually gives us the ability with the OM1 to shoot handheld when we're shooting in long exposure modes like live composite. So I've done a couple of sort of early tests with this. The best I could do was sort of about 30 seconds with a 7-14. And I was pretty happy with the result. But by the same token, I'm really intrigued as to what sort of our global ambassador team is going to be able to show you once we get onto OM System Day and also OM1 Day as well. So stay tuned, because we've got so much more to come when it talks about example shots and that sort of thing as well. So this will be incredibly exciting. Okay, so
all right.
Next we move on to speed. Mishalla, is there anything that that's popped up that we need to cover from that second stanza?
No, we have got an excellent, for one, we've got some of our great ambassadors in the comment section tonight. So I just want to do a quick shout out to a handful of really awesome ambassadors from both America and Canada down there in the comment section. You guys are doing such a great job helping people get the correct answers. And then we also have our team, our social media team is on YouTube answering questions, and they're also killing it and answering the questions so fast I can't even pop them on the screen for us to talk about. So that's good. We're getting everybody taken care of. We want to make sure that your questions are answered before we leave the episode tonight. So thank you to our team in the comment section that is just killing it.
Absolutely. No, thank you guys. That's very much appreciated, because again, this we don't want to feel like that we're sort of just talking at everybody. We want this to be as interactive as we can, and the whole reason why we're joining you live is because we want you to engage with you and get all of your questions answered. So to have all of that team on board, folks, that's amazing. Thank you so much to everybody that's helping with that. Okay, let's talk speed. So this is obviously a big party piece with this, because we set a new market benchmark as far as speed production goes with the EM1 Mark II. So to be able to shoot at 60 frames in RAW. We'll talk about frame rates in a second, because the focusing system and the way that it operates so quickly is obviously incredibly important to not only capture quickly, but obviously accurately as well. So as you've got on your screen here, and again, if you're using an EM1 Mark III or an EM1X, You'll be familiar with some of the things that you can do as far as autofocus points go. But one thing you're straight away going to notice is that if you go to the single point, it's so much smaller than what we've seen before. Now, this is something that I know lots of people have been crying out for, so especially for people that shoot birds and wildlife. So when you've got a partially obstructed subject and you just can't get that slightly larger focus point in there, now you've got the ability to shoot in that super accurate and smaller part of your LCD screen, or part of your frame, I should say. So that's really, really cool. But you've obviously got a lot of variety of different options in here as well, based on the subject matter that you're shooting. So all of these different things are sort of pre-programmed into the camera, as you can see, but you also do have a full customization mode to create your own array of autofocus points as well, which is amazing. So I can't wait for people to get these in their hands and actually see just how fast and accurate this is, because again, speed is one thing, accuracy is another, and all of these systems working together are able, or why and how we're able to achieve the things that we're able to achieve, which is really exciting. So let's talk frame rates. So 50 frames continuous focus, blackout free in raw resolution. Now that is absolutely amazing. So again, for anybody who's familiar with their previous generation cameras, they were still super fast, and they still are super fast. So 18 frames continuous focus is amazing. To be able to jump this up all the way up to 50 frames is obviously a giant leap forward. And again, I keep looping all the way back to that new sensor and processing engine at the heart of this new camera. It is absolutely amazing what this can do. But you've also got a lot of variety in here based on the way that you want to shoot with the camera and based on the subject and environment you're shooting in. So we've still got sequential shooting in there with a mechanical shutter up to 10 frames per second. But then you can go into a silent sequential mode that'll achieve all the way up to 20 frames per second. But also what you will notice is that there is a difference between your sequential shooting mode and then your high-speed sequential 1 and 2. What you're actually seeing with the high-speed sequential modes is that you're also shooting blackout free. Okay, so same as what we've seen with previous generation cameras, you've got the higher speed where you're shooting at actually 120 frames per second in RAW, but that is with focus lock. Now, one clever thing that our engineers have done with the new camera is that when you go into that SH1 mode, it actually disables the ability to shoot in continuous focus because you can't actually use it. So with our previous generation cameras, you could still use continuous focus, but it was only for before you took that first shot. As soon as you actually focus and exposure locked and started shooting, all of those images were going to be captured at the same focus distance. So with this new camera, if you want to do that and you want to continuously focus, that's where you're going to jump into SH2. So you still have variable frame rate, so you can still jump into the back end menu and adjust the amount of frames that you take, because 50 is epic, and let's face it, 120 frames is another whole level again. But you have that level of customization. You can actually go in and drop those frame rates down based on your requirements, which is awesome. But another change that they made, and we've actually doubled the amount of frames, not just per second when we're shooting with focus lock or single autofocus, you've actually doubled the amount of pre-captured frames that you can capture with Pro Capture. So for those of you who might not be familiar with the Pro Capture mode, this is something that we released back with the EM1 Mark II. Basically what it enables you to do is, once you've enabled the mode, and it'll still shoot in either 120 frames or 50 frames per second, once you start capturing in Pro Capture, you'll half press the shutter release. You'll see a little indicator in the top of your screen that you're actually pre-capturing frames. And what happens is that those frames just continue to be cycled through the buffer over and over again. And once you actually completely press the shutter release, bang, it locks all of those previously captured frames or previous frames that were in the buffer, and then keep shooting afterwards as well. So again, all of those numbers are all completely customizable, but the whole mantra behind Pro Capture is never missing the moment. So you've got this new camera that captures much a higher frame rate than what we've seen before, but obviously a higher number of pre-captured frames, so 70 or up to 70 pre-captured frames you can do. And this isn't just about sports and wildlife shooting either, folks. This is about any moment where you need to anticipate the action. You know it's coming, you just don't know exactly when it's going to happen. That's where Pro Capture is your best friend, because at these sorts of frame rates, I can nearly guarantee you that the frame or frames that you want to actually choose are actually always going to be before you completely press that shutter release and start capturing. But that's the power of this system and the power of this new camera that we've got here with the OM1. So just a little note, this just popped up from Mark. So will the new OIShare app include wireless tethering for iOS and Android devices? Not in the same way as our capture software is going to do, Mark. Not right now. But there has been an update and there is an update coming for the OMSYSTEM program. So that enables you to USB or wireless tether, not just with the new camera, but with the EM1 Mark III and also the EM1X as well. So, but I know what you're talking about as far as a completely separate program for a wireless device. Not yet. So we stay tuned and we hope that we cross our fingers and toes we see that sooner rather than later.
Yeah. A lot of people are really, really excited about your Pro Capture recap.
Yeah, cool.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, not at all. No, go.
Oh, no, I was playing with it in the yard the other day. I was photographing the birds. Your shot is much better than mine, I won't lie. But very impressive, the fact that you can use Pro Capture in the same way that you're used to, but you press it, you go, it's still writing, and I was able to go right back into shooting because I missed the shot that I thought I was going to get, and I was like, oh, dang it, I got too excited, press that shutter. But then I was able to just go right back into shooting. There wasn't a wait period in between. I didn't have to write things. The camera is so fast in between while it's processing all this with the new processor. It's just bananas how quickly you can get right back into shooting and never miss the moment. So not only are you bending time with that pre-capture before you even press the shutter, you can also go right back into it. That was a huge thing for me when I was playing with this camera and learning it. Oh, so impressed with the Pro Capture feature.
No, absolutely, and I'm definitely not going to take credit for any of these bird shots, folks. By the way, these are all from our global visionaries. So, no, definitely not taking any responsibility for these. But the reason why I've chosen these is, again, they're beautiful photographs, but obviously they show you the detail that you can capture and lots of different systems working together here as well. So that's actually something that I don't think we probably talk about enough, and something that we really need to focus on with the OM1 is that you can actually use these systems in combination. So I'm going to talk about AI autofocus in a second, but you can actually use AI autofocus with tracking and these high frame rates combined with Pro Capture. So you're not limited to sort of doing one or the other. But one important point, just while this pops up on your screen, is that these are all the lenses that are going to be capable of shooting continuous focus with the 50 frames. So I might just go back to the beginning of that slide, actually, just so everybody can see all of those, because that just
I was going to say, I just saw that question pop up, so I'm so glad that this was the next slide.
Yeah, so 12 to 40, both versions, the 12 to 100 mil, the 40 to 150 f2.8, the 300 mil f4, and of course, our 150 to 400 mil. Now, but don't panic, because those are the lenses that you can achieve the 50 frames per second. You can still achieve 25 frames per second with pretty much every other lens in our range, bar the kit lens, the 14 to 42 mil. I think that's 13 frames off the top of my head. But look, let's face it, if this is the sort of work that you're doing, you're pretty much going to be prioritizing those focal lengths that we just talked about as well, in order to guarantee yourself the performance that the camera is going to give you. Another huge improvement, which I am super excited about, because I love the viewfinder on my EM1X and my EM1 Mark III. Look, I'm really spoiled. I get all the toys to play with and do. I've got two small children, so they keep me busy, but it's brilliant capturing sort of memories of them. But for any of you folks that have got kids out there, you know that they never sit still. They never pose for you. They never do anything that you want them to, especially when you're trying to take their photograph. But having this new viewfinder read out not just at the speed that it does, but the resolution that it does as well. So not only are you looking through something that is super fast, but you're looking at over double the resolution of anything that we've had in previous generations. And also another layer to that is that because it's an OLED viewfinder, color representation is absolutely gorgeous, and it's also a lot more anti-reflective as well, especially for us folks that wear glasses. So you're talking about the total package and a massive leap forward for us when we're talking viewfinders, because let's face it, one of the key things about any mirrorless camera is that whole what you see is what you get experience when you're looking through your LCD screen or your viewfinder. So to have the best experience with that, you are going to love shooting with this when you're looking through this viewfinder, because it's just gorgeous. The other great thing is that there's been a big jump in resolution for our LCD screen as well. So whether you are using the viewfinder or whether you're using the LCD screen, you're going to have a gorgeous experience with it while you're shooting. Now, AI detection autofocus, as I touched on before, the speed is obviously like staggering of what we were already able to achieve. But to be able to say that we can do this with the OM1 2 times more accurately and 3 times faster, that absolutely blew my mind. And that's not on paper, folks. That is absolutely true. It is stunning and amazing just how quickly it recognizes and locks onto subjects. And we've also got a new subject built into there as well. So for cats and dogs, one cool thing, and I've already watched some of the reviews that have come out overnight, that they've noted that actually works with a lot more subjects than specifically just cats and dogs. But right now the algorithm is obviously prioritized for those. But what is awesome about AI detection autofocus is that our engineers will keep adding subjects to this. They'll keep promoting this. They'll keep making it better and better and better. So it's not just about adding subjects, which obviously we've done with the new camera, but the speed and accuracy is obviously imperative to that as well. And again, sensor and processing engine all coming together to achieve this for us.
We've actually had a couple of in-field reviews that it's worked on things like foxes and other animals too. So we're really excited to see more and more of those reviews coming in, because it seems to be pretty reliable for different types of wildlife as well, which is awesome. That's not an officially sanctioned comment, though. Nobody tell my boss I said that.
No, I was going to say the same thing actually, because Michael Horan and Michaela Scott-Denova, who were both part of our sort of teaser program, our pre-release videos. They did some shooting down in country Victoria, and we're using this with kangaroos. So yeah. I know we're talking to lots of people in the northern and southern hemisphere, but if you've ever seen kangaroos, they're super cute, but some of them can get really, really big and scary. And no, they don't jump down our streets, and we don't go riding in their pockets and all that sort of thing. Well, I definitely couldn't. I'm 6'2", and I won't tell you how heavy I am, but I don't want to meet the roo that I could fit in this pouch of. But it is incredible what it can already do. But again, guys, we're only scratching the surface with what this new system is actually capable of. So stay tuned, because there's obviously more to come.
One of our other photographers that has it, Matt Seuss, he also was shooting deer with it. So hey, we're going to be able to. Yeah, I just saw that pop up there.
Yeah, that's awesome, Matt. Thank you for letting us know that as well. Yeah, it's. I won't try to even go into all the detail of how these algorithms actually work, because we've only got supposed to have another 15 minutes.
We're here all night.
But again, it will constantly be improved, and what you can actually achieve in the real world, like Matt just said, it's going to be really, really cool. And we look forward to your feedback after you actually get camera in hand as well.
Absolutely. All right, I'll let you go.
Okay, cool beans. So reliability. So again, anybody who's been in the Olympus and now OM System family previously, you'll know how well built our cameras are in the EM1 series in particular. The internal testing that they do to these, as you can sort of see in here, is amazing. The pressure testing that they do for these in order to guarantee that level of performance is absolutely second to none. But one of the things that we've actually changed with this new camera is we're guaranteeing an IP53 rating. Now, what is really exciting is that it's not just the lens, it's also a whole bunch of lenses that are going to fall into this level of weather sealing and freeze proofing as well, which I'll take you through right now. Because again, freeze proofing, where I am, it's about 32 degrees on the east coast of Australia in Sydney right now. Snow is probably not something that we have to worry about too often, but I know lots of you folks definitely do. So to be able to have that level of reliability in any condition, again, this is exactly what we're talking about, is this camera being the perfect companion no matter the condition that you're shooting in. But just a quick touch on what this IP sort of rating is all about, because some of you might be familiar with this and some of you won't be. The IP actually stands for ingress protection. So what we're talking about here is dust and also spraying water as well. Now, previous generations of camera, even though again our internal testing was like crazy high compared to what its official rating ended up being, to be able to go out and guarantee this level of sealing is another whole new benchmark. So, but as I touched on, it's not just about the camera. We've actually got a range of lenses that are going to fall into this IP53 guaranteed standard as well. So again, 12 to 40 version 2, so which is obviously going to hit the shelves at around the same time as the camera. 40 to 150 f4, which got announced at exactly the same time as the camera. I wish I had one to show you folks. It is so small, but it is so sharp. So for those of you who are looking for something that gives you that sort of level of coverage but in a smaller package, get in store, get online and check this lens out because it's amazing. Also, new 8-25, which is only released fairly recently, 7-14 2.8, 12-100 the 8mm fisheye, the 40-150 f2.8 as you would expect, the 300mm f4, both teleconverters, and then of course our gorgeous 150-400 as well. Okay, so that's important because yes, you've got this brand new camera that you can make this sort of, you can improve the ceiling on it and say, okay, yeah, we're definitely guaranteeing this to IP53. To be able to say this about an existing lens range is incredible as well. So I'm sure lots of people that are on stream with us right now are using a range of these lenses. You know that they can partner perfectly with the new camera when you get it in your hands as well. A couple of quick things about the sort of a test to reliability as well. So you're talking 400,000 shutter actuations from the physical shutter, and something that a lot of people don't realize is that your electronic shutter doesn't actually contribute to this 400,000 count. Now, as you've seen with the sensor readout that we have, the speed that we can achieve, that's all actually with the electronic shutter or the silent shutter. So it's actually not contributing to that number, which means that you're going to extend the total life of your camera anyway by doing that. And then dust reduction. So anybody who's used any interchangeable lens camera before, obviously apart from an OMSYSTEM or Olympus camera, dust is your worst enemy. And the dust reduction system that we've been developing since all the way back to the E1 really is market leading. You really will not have problems with dust when you're changing lenses over. And the reason for that is that the sensor actually vibrates at 35,000 times per second, but it actually creates a popping sort of movement on the front cover of the sensor, which means that it's not only shaking, but it's actually pushing things away from the sensor. And then you've also got adhesive strips on the inside of the camera body, which captures anything that's free floating in there as well. So you're never really going to have a problem with dust on that. And again, I can personally attest to that as well, which is really good. Question from Mark Chan. So rolling shutter effect. So again, down to the sensor readout speed that we've got with this new camera. I'm not going to say it's 100% alleviated, but I think you'll see from the guys that are actually doing reviews on this, not one of them has brought it up as a problem. So again, as the more real world reviews come out, and again, a lot of the content that you're going to see from the OMSYSTEM global team, you'll be able to judge that for yourself. But I think you'll be incredibly excited about what you're seeing or what you're not seeing. I should say it's probably more appropriate. As we touched on earlier, guys, so completely new battery for this new camera. And again, it's completely justified by the fact that we've got this super powerful camera, and we obviously want to extend your battery life as well. So officially rated to 520 shots, so you're looking at a 20% increase on what we've seen with our previous generation batteries. Having said that though, real world, especially if you are shooting with the electronic shutter, what you're actually going to be able to achieve is significantly higher than that. And I think you can say that of all cameras, but what is incredible, that all of these systems working together, as I said, the gentleman that's been shooting for us in Perth, Western Australia, was blown away about the amount of shots. It was over 3,000 shots that he got, and that's high-speed tracking as well as your single shooting high resolution shot. It was a combination of different things. So incredibly excited about this because not only is it giving you more battery power, it is also chargeable via USB-C. It actually comes with a USB-C wall charger in your box. And you can also charge it via power bank, and also power via an external power bank if you've got a PD rated power bank as well. So again, the whole point behind that is being able to charge and keep on the move, so you don't need to be tied to a desk or tied to your bedroom or to your hotel room. You can get out and charge and power and keep shooting, which is obviously incredibly important. Dual UHS 2 card slots, as you would absolutely expect from a camera to be able to shoot at this level of speed. And just quickly before we move into video capability, Mishalla, is there anything else that anybody has raised, or anything that we can answer for the guys that hasn't already been answered by the team?
No, mostly the battery question keeps coming up. And I'm going to say it again for you guys. You can only use the new battery in this camera. The old battery will not work. It's a different battery, just like Aaron covered. Sorry. Yeah. I know. But you know what? You can, if you've got a USB port in your car, you can charge it in your car while you're driving to your next location. You can charge it with a battery bank. You can charge it in your house. I was charging mine around my kitchen sink, which was probably a little bit dangerous, but I did it anyway. You can always be charging it. But yeah, no, our team is doing a super great job getting the questions answered as far as I
that's
can see.
amazing.
Oh, I do have an Australian question. This is for you. When are these being delivered in Australia? I'm not sure on the answer to that.
Okay, so as long as there's no delays, and obviously with everything that's happening globally with shipping and transport and all that sort of thing, but we're very much hoping to have everything in stores to buy from the 1st of March. But stay tuned and speak to your local retailer about those delivery timeframes, because obviously they could be subject to change through things that are completely out of our control. But that very beginning of March is where we're absolutely shooting for, and that's a very good question, because I'm sure lots of people are wondering about that. So very cool. Thank you.
Another quick,
a couple of things.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. Go.
No, I don't mean to step on you.
No,
Somebody
not
wanted to
at
know
all.
about the cards, and they're both UHS2 cards. Do you want to talk on that a little bit?
Absolutely, yes.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Both UHS2 high-speed card slots, so no delays to writing or recovery or viewing. Having said that, though, even with the EM1 Mark III, when that camera first came out, and they actually updated the EM1 Mark II firmware to do the same, was that even though it was only writing as quickly as the slowest card, you could still review your images straight away. You could still change things in your menu. You could still operate the camera. But I guess the benefit of having dual UHS2 with the OM1 is that everything's writing at the same speed. So obviously you're clearing buffers, you're doing all those things at the highest speed possible, which is absolutely awesome. And when you've got something that's shooting as quickly as what this does, obviously that's really important as well. So fantastic question. That's really, really cool. The other quick thing that I will mention about power as well is that something that in real world that I was really excited about is that you're able to charge via USB into camera, and if you've got a battery grip with a battery in it, it'll actually charge both batteries at the same time just by plugging into the USB connection. So for those of you who are going to want to shoot with battery grip, or at least to have that extra battery support, even if you're going to charge in grip, you can do all of that, and you can do all of that on the fly, which is really, really cool. So again, a testament to that portability message that we want to get across to you guys is that no matter where you are, you're still going to be able to keep shooting because you've got all of those facilities as well.
All right.
Okay.
The question, we knew it was coming.
Yes.
Is the battery charger included or purchased separately?
So there is a battery charger. It's actually a dual battery charger that you can purchase separately. So obviously the pricing on that's going to vary from country to country depending on your currency. But the separate battery charger does not come in the box. It will be charging via USB only, but all of that equipment all comes in your box, so that's all ready to go. You've got a high-speed data transfer as well as charging cable, and also that power pack and wall cord that's going to charge into your wall as well. So all of that stuff is ready to go.
And it's very, very quick and efficient. I'm with the EM1X actually is when I stopped using my battery chargers. They're in a box in my closet now because I just plug in and go and my camera's being charged. It's super quick and efficient. And somebody just asked if we're going to touch on the menu system. Hold tight. We are going to talk about the new menu system. I know that's going to be an exciting thing, but let's get through these slides, okay? Stay on the line. Don't hang up on us.
We're nearly there, actually, guys. Yeah, absolutely. So, but again, great questions, folks. This is exactly what we want to be hearing from you, and these are the things that we want to answer for you at the same time. So, video. So again, video is incredibly exciting for us because again, we've made some leaps and bounds with the EM1 Mark III and the EM1X in the last couple of generations, but this is another big leap forward for us, which we're all really excited about, because when you take a camera that stabilizes the way that we've traditionally done, you take that to another level with the OM1. But now you've also got 10-bit internal recording and you've got higher frame rates as well. So you can capture cinema 4K and 4K at up to 60 frames per second. And you can still do that in 10-bit as well. So you do have the option to either record in 8-bit 264 or 10-bit 265. But obviously you can output to an external recorder as well and get ProRes RAW output at 444 as well. But really, really exciting, because these are all the things that your sort of next generation filmmaker is, it's not just important, it's imperative. So HLG output, yes, you will need an external monitor that's capable of that in order to see the most out of that. But again, 12-bit ProRes in 444 raw output to an external recorder, it just gives you that file malleability and flexibility that you would expect from a creator and filmmaker. So all of those things combined with the way that we stabilize our new autofocus system, all of these things put together are the perfect run and gun package. Same as when we're shooting stills, it's just going to cover absolutely everything that you need it to do. There's also 240 frames per second in full HD as well. So incredibly exciting because, as I said, we've always been a sort of stills priority brand. We've sort of been getting better and better with video. This really brings us to the fore when we're talking video for spec and performance. So we're really excited about this.
I have a video. Should we look at the video on the slow motion?
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, please.
Do you want to listen to it?
Yeah, let's do it.
We'll be quiet for a sec. You guys got to see this. Hopefully it looks great for you. I'm sorry. That was just impressive to me. That is insane.
That's amazing, isn't it? So, I mean, it's such a good baseline as well because everybody knows how fast hummingbirds' wings actually move. Mm-hmm. So to be able to catch it in that sort of frame rate and that sort of detail is amazing. So, look, super slow-mo and that sort of thing is obviously brilliant for those really, really high frame rates. But the things that you can do with them from a practical sense, especially if you're a filmmaker, is obviously brilliant as well. So no, thank you for that. That's awesome, and I'm sure the folks at home all really appreciated that as well. Because again, it's all well and good to say, okay, so what does 240 frames actually mean to me in the real world? Those are the sorts of things that you can achieve when you've got that. So
you can
that's
freeze
awesome. Time. Yeah, exactly right. So a couple of little key points that we want to talk about for video as well. So the Cinema 4K and 4K at 60 frames is actually oversampled from 5K with no crop. So that's really cool. I've got a little spelling error in there, sorry, but that's supposed to be no crop. Internal recording at 420 10-bit, so that H.265 platform we talked about, all the way up to 240 frames high-speed shooting. But that does crop slightly, so it's about 60%. H.264, H.265, as I mentioned before, zebra patterns in order to judge and control your exposure, which is really cool. Red frame for recording, so again, you've got a better video indicator for when we are actually capturing images, or video, I should say. And also, as I mentioned right at the beginning, your settings are completely independent from each other for when you're shooting stills versus video. So again, all the things that you would expect, and obviously taking it to another level for us as well. So just had Joe pop up here for me. So hopefully you'll talk about the buffer. So 120 shots per second. Can the buffer and the card keep up? So right now, if I remember correctly, the buffer is at the 120 frame per second rate is 96 or 92 off the top of my head. Yeah. So, but what is brilliant about that is that, again, dual UHS-2 card slot, so you're going to be pumping that information out to your card really, really quickly. You're also talking about 120 frames in raw resolution as well, so you've got a lot of data flowing through there as well. So I guess one of those things is going to be making sure that you've got your SD cards up to speed as well to make sure that your cards are capable of inputting that information and writing that information as you're going along as well. But good question and definitely a good point to raise.
Yeah, everybody go out and update your SD cards after this presentation, all right? Get ready. Get prepared for that OM1 to show up in your mailbox.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm just going to leave these up on screen for a moment, folks, just so if anybody's interested, you can see all of these because you've got your different frame rates and the different things that it can achieve. So here we've got all of the H.264, so the 8-bit platform. Then you've got very similar, if not exactly the same, but still shooting in 10-bit, so in that H.265 platform. Then you've got high-speed movie, so you've got all of those different frame rates in there as well. And then we finish off with everything that you can achieve when you're outputting to an external recorder. So Atomos recorders is what we are going to be doing with this as well. Now, some new features. So this is where we want to actually talk about the menu a little bit because look, it's one of those things that, you know, when you use a camera sort of every day, like me and Mishalla do, you just become very comfortable with it. You know, it's okay, I know where everything is and that, you know, but if you're new to it, it can take some time to do. So the engineers sat down and said, okay, how are we going to make this familiar for somebody who's already an Olympus user, and make it also very familiar and easy to operate for somebody who's going to be new to the system? And that's exactly what they've delivered with this. So there's a couple of different layers to this. And Mishalla, I think you've actually got a camera that we can cut over to, that if we want to show that in real time.
We can show it up.
Just while you're doing that, a couple of things that I really want to point out that I think are I mean, again, very logical, but are just absolutely awesome, is that the first point is everything is where you expect it to be. So, for example, if you're shooting, changing something to do with, say, for example, your auto or your focus peaking, I should say. In the previous menu system, you'd be changing or turning focus peaking on in one tab and then going to a completely different one in order to turn your color representation on. All of these things are now all put into the same thing. So you've got your peaking color and all that sort of thing that is actually going to be at one touch. For us as trainers and educators, it's actually going to be awesome as well, because you've actually got a really quick and easy reference to go from each tab as well. So Mishalla, if you can go back one step for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so you can see all those different tabs at the top, and they're really, really easy to drive. So once you press the menu button on the back of the camera, you're going to roll across the top of your screen, so in between each of those tabs. So camera 1, camera 2, autofocus, video. You do that all with the front control wheel, so next to where your shutter release is on the front of the camera. And then to go through at the tabs at the bottom of the screen, you use the rear dial and you can go tab, tab, tab. Of course, you can use your arrow keys and your joystick for that as well. But it's super, super quick to go from one to the other. And say, for example, if we're finding something in autofocus, I could say, okay, cool. So at the top of your screen, go to autofocus and then go to the third tab across. Bang, we've got our sensitivity in there. So from a point of reference, it's going to be really, really easy to explain where things are. And also it's, again, just much more logically laid out where all of those things that make sense to each other and touch with each other are all actually embedded into each of those same tabs as well. The other improvement that it doesn't sound like such a big deal, but it's actually something that is going to make everybody's life so much easier, is that, yeah, it's the when things are grayed out in your menu, it also means that the camera will actually give you a reason why and what you need to change in order to stop that from being grayed out. So quite often it's generally something to do with bracketing. If you've got something to do with either focus or exposure bracketing switched on, and you've left that on and something's grayed out, that's probably why. But now it's actually going to tell you the reason why that thing is grayed out, and therefore you know what to change. So you don't have to consult a manual. You don't have to consult a manual. You don't have to go through, all these additional steps to find out what you need to change or do. It's all absolutely there, ready to go, which is awesome.
Yeah, that was so super huge. As somebody who teaches the menus on a regular occasion, and Aaron, I know you know this, it is so frustrating to sit there and go, okay, but why is this grayed out right now? Let me think about it and go backwards through all my steps. But no, it's so simple, guys. I can't even begin to explain to you how awesome it is to tell these little tips on why you can't use a feature. Is very great.
Absolutely. So like I said, it sounds like a little thing, but it just makes your operation and interaction with the camera so much better. So yeah, we're really excited about that. So thank you for bringing that up live, Mishalla. That's awesome, because that's exactly what we want everybody to be seeing. So cool beans. Now, another structural change is you've now got a dedicated autofocus button on the back of the camera. Now, when you're shooting a video, this is actually what you're going to be using full time for when you're focusing. But obviously this is customizable in the different modes, like what we've seen with our previous generation models as well. But to have that as a dedicated button is awesome, and I'll explain in the real world why. So we touched on a little bit earlier about how high resolution shot is pre-programmed to your red button on the top of the camera. Press and hold that and you can use your rear control wheel to go backwards and forwards between the different options. What I've found works awesome, because you've got this independent button now, you don't have to use the AEL AFL button that was on the back of the camera. You can actually leave that free for things like live neutral density filter or subject detection changes, and it all works on the same platform, where once you assign it to a button, so say for example, if I put live neutral density filter on that button, all I've got to do is press the AEL AFL button once, and then it enables that function. Then all I've got to do is press and hold that button again, and then I roll my front control wheel, and it's going to toggle in between the different options and the different levels of filter that I've got for live ND. Same as if you change that button to subject detection autofocus. One thing that I didn't actually mention is that what's really exciting with the IM1 is that you can actually use any focusing or any autofocusing type when you're combining it with the subject recognition autofocus, whereas with the EM1X you can only use it with continuous focus with tracking. So that's really cool, and that is a massive change. Again, it doesn't sound like a huge deal on paper, but it all depends on the subject that you're shooting and the way you want to capture it. So now you've got that added flexibility to be able to do it. But again, all of those different things and all the things that you expect from an Olympus or OM system camera, button customization, all that sort of thing still exists the way that you like it, and you can jump in there and change it. However, what I think you'll actually find is that when you first pick this camera up out of the box, it is so well laid out and so logical in the way that everything's running, you probably won't need to do a great deal of changes to it. But obviously you've got the ability to if you want to.
Well, and the nice thing is if you're an EM1 Mark III user, a lot of things are going to be in a very familiar place, very comfortable. There's not a huge amount of changes to where the buttons exist. So the muscle memory is still there. I think the biggest switchover will be learning the new menu and super control panel. Can I share the super control panel really quick? I've seen two questions about it.
Yeah,
Are you okay with that, Aaron?
Well up. No, absolutely. I think that's a great idea. Yes, please. Because what you actually see when you press your OK button, where you go into your traditional super control panel menu, again, you can see it's very ordered. It's very logically laid out, I should say. Everything's only a couple of clicks away, so everything's nice and close to each other. Again, it's all about streamlining your experience with the camera when you're looking to jump in and change things. So really clever. And again, all of these things that you need or are going to want are all at one touch. And you've simply just got to press that OK button on the back of the camera. Same as if you've got an E1 Mark III or an E1X or an E1 Mark II, basically any of the previous generation cameras. But everything there is at one touch, which is absolutely awesome. So that was a great shout, Mishalla. Thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. I'll come back. I'll bring us back to our presentation here.
Awesome.
It's a live show, guys. I'm winging this.
No, that's awesome. Thank you so much. So a couple of things on system expandability. So all the things that you need to know that we sort of touched on a little bit, but things that we will definitely make very clear. New battery and new battery grip for the new camera. So these are obviously going to be available separately. There is, as lots of people have been asking about, there is a separate battery charger that you can purchase separately. So it's actually a dual battery charger. What was I going to say? Yeah, they should roughly be available in the same sort of time frame as when the camera is shipping. They might be a little bit before or after, depending on shipments in the countries that you're in and all that sort of thing. But also, you've got the wireless remote control as well, which I know somebody asked about right at the beginning. So it still has a 3.5mm jack on it, so you can actually operate it as a physical wired tethered shutter release if you want to. But it actually operates on Bluetooth as well, so you can do it completely wirelessly if that's your preference as well.
I'm going to interject something really quick.
Yeah,
Sorry,
absolutely, please.
We're going off topic briefly. Super control panel. We're going back to that for 1 sec. Somebody wanted to see the AI detection AF subject matter to pop up on the super control panel. And I know it's not on there. I get it. But we do have the My menu in this new menu, just like we had in the EM1X. So you can actually save all of your favorite features like Live ND and the AI detection and all of that into your My menu at this point. So you can quickly recall those features that you like to use. And of course, just like EM1X, EM1 Mark III, you've got your custom modes on that top dial as well. So if you're going into bird detection mode, very regularly, you can assign all of that to your C1 and quickly change to that mode just like you would in the past.
Absolutely. And actually, if you've still got the camera plugged in, Mishalla, I might get you to jump back into it and jump into custom buttons, because like I was sort of touching on before about setting up one of those custom buttons for live neutral density filter and that sort of thing. I've actually set my camera up for the exposure compensation button, so the one sort of on the very top of the camera. Jump into button function. So yeah, so that button right there, Mishalla. So if you press OK on that one, and go up a couple of pages, I think it is. So these, just for you folks that are watching on at home, all of these options that we've got here are all the things that you can program to a particular button. So if you keep jumping up there, Mishalla, I think it's, yep, one more. It's like a little 3D box. It's got a cool new little icon on it. Yep, one more. Oh, sorry, back down, and then bottom right-hand corner. And there it is, subject detection. Cool. So now when you press on that, like I was saying before, that when you touch that button, it'll enable the last one that you had on. But if you press and hold it and roll that rear control wheel, it'll actually go toggle in between each of those different functions. So really fast, really easy, and it just means that you've got it all at one touch as well. And look, obviously that's going to be a bit different for every individual, because it means that depending on the way that you want to set your buttons up, because lots of people do still use that exposure compensation button. So you may change that AEL, AFL button to that, or maybe one of the buttons on the inside of the grip next to where your lens barrel sits. You've got the ability to do all of that. So you saw not even all of those different things that you can actually do with your button function and control. But when we were talking specifically about that subject detection and being able to enable it that way, that's awesome. And I just found that that's a really fast and easy way to be able to sort of bring that up and then take it away again. And because when you're shooting stills, it operates in every single function, obviously except for manual focus. It's just so much easier and faster to be able to access. So if that's something you're interested in, hopefully that answered that question for you.
Yeah, I got it all assigned to that button, and you'll notice on my screen a little birdie is going to pop up on the screen when I have it engaged. So it'll tell you, just like the old camera system, it'll tell you what's engaged in your system on that top bar of your menu. So we know that we have the bird. And like Aaron was saying, if I hold it and then roll my front dial, I can actually quickly switch to airplanes if I'm tired of photographing birds. So it's really intuitive and easier to use than before.
Absolutely.
Awesome. All right, let's bring your presentation back.
Awesome, thank you. Good questions, folks. That's exactly what we want you guys to be talking about and asking about, because again, there's what's on paper and then how do we actually make it work for us in the real world, and that's a great example of that. Flash accessories, so everything is obviously backwards and forwards compatible except for the battery, unfortunately, guys. I'm sorry about that. But the flash accessories, all of those new accessories that we obviously saw, and obviously all lenses. But as we've sort of touched on, and some of you guys might have missed these because they were sort of like, wow, everything's about the camera, but we've actually released 2 new lenses at the same time. So you've got the 12-40 f2.8 version 2. Really the biggest changes with this is improved weather sealing. So again, it has that IP53 weather sealing rating, and it's also got a fluorine coating on the front element of the lens as well. So it just means it's super slippery. It means that things aren't going to get stuck to it as easily and all that sort of thing. But then you've also got the 40-150 f4. Now, again, I wish I had one to show you because it is so incredibly small for the range that it covers. And oh, there we go. Mishalla's got one. That's wicked, because now you can actually see it on camera. It looks even better on camera.
I got to get out of the
way. It's so small and so light, but again, it's a pro grade lens. So you're talking pro optics and pro weather sealing as well. So these will be available roughly at the same time as the camera. They might be, again, depending on the area that you're in. But what is really exciting about the 40-150 in particular is that we've now got that sort of trinity of key lenses in both 2.8s and now in f4s as well. So for the 2.8s, you've got the 7-14, the 12-40, and the 40-150. And in that f4 range, you've now got your 8-25 for your wide angle shooting. You've got the 12-45 f4, and now you've got the 40-150 f4 as well. So again, depending on size, speed, budget, all those different things, you've now got such a variety to choose from, which is really exciting. So so that's the 2 new lenses. Also an update, and those of you who are a little bit mental about making sure that their apps are all up to date, the app update's already been done to recognize the new camera, which is really exciting. But the more exciting thing with this is that you can actually, via the Olympus Share application, free download, by the way, on whichever, whether you're using Apple or Android. What is awesome about it is that, yes, you can control the camera so you can see live view and all that sort of thing. You can transfer files, you can transfer raw files and video and that sort of thing as well. But what you can actually do with this is also firmware update your camera and also the lens that you have attached to it as well. Now, we've had this since the EM1 Mark III, but right now in our current lineup, until the OM1 becomes available, that was the only other camera that could do that. So what was really exciting about this is that, again, it's all about that mantra of being not tied to anything. So, you can do all of these things and get all your updates. You can save camera settings as well within the application, all completely wirelessly. So really, really exciting, because it just means that you can do all of these things on the fly, which again, you don't need to be tied to a desk or a desktop in order to do. Also, update to our workspace platform. So this is our cataloging and editing software. If you folks haven't used this before, jump on and check it out, because it's made by OM System for OM System. And some of the benefits that you get from that are absolutely staggering. So look, I use multiple editing softwares and that sort of thing, but the results, especially out of this new camera that I've got with Workspace, have just been like amazingly good. So again, all you've got to do is put a serial number for your camera in, and you can download this for absolutely free. So check that out if you haven't. And also, I know somebody was asking about tethering and that sort of thing before. There's also been an update to our capture software. Now, this is either on location or in studio capturing, where you can either tether via USB cable, or you can also tether completely wirelessly as well. So the view that you've got on your screen here is what you would see when you're shooting or tethering with a USB cable. If you're tethering wirelessly, what it'll do is pull them into either the Olympus Workspace program, or you can actually set it up for hot folders and that sort of thing to go into whichever program that you like to use to edit your images. So it's awesome, it's fast, and again, it's completely free. All you've got to do is put in a serial number for a camera that's compatible with it, which is awesome. Okay, that's my officialdom done. So I really hope that we have covered lots of things. And again, I can't thank the team enough to be answering all of those questions in the background for us, because obviously we've had lots of people on the stream, so we want to make sure that we answer all of your questions. But the floor is yours, folks. Yeah. If there's anything else that we haven't covered, or anything else that you'd like to discuss, please feel free. That's what we're here for. But again, I also appreciate we've just downloaded a whole bunch of stuff onto you. So we all probably need a little bit of processing time to sort of get our heads around all of that. But
right.
No, it's been awesome.
Right. And we do have, there was one quick question about this live show being available afterwards. And of course, as any of our live shows are, that will be available to watch on the replay later on after we are done. They should all go live tonight, I believe, or go live. They should be uploaded tonight and ready to go on our YouTube channel, OMSYSTEM.Cameras. And just keep in mind, like what Aaron's saying is totally true, right? We just downloaded so much information, and I know a lot of you guys have taken part in several different sessions in multiple languages today. And just keep in mind, this coming week, like I said, OM System Day on February 24th is going to be coming up, and I'm going to drop the link in the chat again, just so that you guys can come check us out and see what our photographers are saying. I know we've got Michaela from Australia is going to be one of our photographers. We'll have Chris Eyerwalker, Peter Baumgarten, a favorite on our YouTube channel, is going to be on there, Brooke Little Bear. People from all over the globe. So it's going to be a really awesome day where you can kind of think about it, get some more questions in your brain. And then, of course, when it comes to March and these cameras start getting in your hands, we know that you guys are going to have a lot of questions, right, Aaron? And we're going to have to be doing these menu classes and super control panel classes, and we're going to be there to support you. We'll have lives, we'll have Zooms, we'll have in-store things where we can, some coffee with OM System now, right? Aaron, I guess, is what we are.
Absolutely. Which is really exciting for us, because we really, really enjoy doing those sorts of sessions with everybody, because everybody learns, us included. It's really cool when you get that curly question like, wow, I haven't come across that. And we've all been doing this for quite a while. So it's brilliant, because it's a learning experience for everybody. But yeah, to jump into a completely new camera and new setup is really exciting, because there's so much that we can talk about that we haven't been able to talk about before. So yeah, really looking forward to that as well.
Yep. So we definitely look forward to seeing you guys all in our menu classes. I expect to see a lot of you regular comment section people joining us in March and on OM System Day. All right. Is the menu touch sensitive? There's a question that's come up, and no, it is not. It's not a touch sensitive menu.
Well, no, yeah, it is for some things, but not everything. So, for example, if you go into your Super Control Panel menu,
Yes.
actually, for those of you who are interested, there's what the battery looks like in real time. I had it sort of out so everybody could sort of see the difference in size between the old one and the new. Sorry, my face detection's working too good because it wants to stay on my face. But I'm just going to pop this in here so I can tell you what I'm talking about. So once you actually press the OK button live on the back of your camera, you can actually move that around. You can also use your joystick and stuff to move that around if you want to. Sorry, I'm going the wrong way. There we go. Once you've tapped on those, you can double tap on that particular subject and then go into whichever category you've selected. You can also use the touchscreen to go backwards and forwards through your photographs. You can touch and then not pinch zoom in, but it'll give you a little slider to go up in and out on your image as well. And you can also use the play button if you've recorded video, so you can touch on the screen to play back videos as well. So not every single thing in the back end menu. So say once you press the menu button, like not all of that is all touch sensitive, but there is still some cool intuitive things that you can do via touch with the LCD screen.
Nice. Well, we've gone so over time tonight, and we should probably let Aaron reclaim the rest of his day. And everybody's right. He has the TruePic X. I cannot believe how you powered through that presentation without a single pause. I am in awe of you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. That's really nice. But I mean, look, this is what we do, folks. Like we were so amped and so, so prepared to do everything that we could to get this new camera out to you folks, because we're just so excited about it. So no, kind words, and thank you very much. I'd love to be invited back to do some stuff with you folks again as well. It's been great fun for me.
Yeah, it's been super nice. And we do hope that you guys are all enjoying our global channel, that it's kind of evolved and changed a little bit. And we're inviting our teams from Poland, from Germany, from France. And it's been really exciting to see so many new viewers and participants in our community, because this is what we make these cameras for, is you guys, the community. And seeing you guys helping each other out in the comment section every time we go live is just always so awesome. And we just have really such a kick butt community, and I'm so thankful for all of you awesome people. And we're really excited to share this new camera with you. And if you want to learn about our pre-order offer, it's actually a pinned comment. It varies by your region, and like I said, we're a global area now, and man, the sun's coming in hot on me. We're a global region now, so if you check the pinned comment at the top, it shows you the pre-order specials for Australia, America, and Europe. So if you're outside of there, you'll have to find the OM system in your region. But check out the warranty offer and the free battery. Any final words, Aaron, before I tell everyone?
Not at all. Just a big thank you for you. To you for pulling this all together, not just for me, but for the global team. You are amazing. And I know everybody that's ever had time with you before knows how awesome you are. So great job.
Well, now you're just flattering me. And to all of you guys out there in internet land, thank you for joining us, and we will see you on the next episode. Have a great night. Thank you, Aaron.
Cheers, guys. Thank you again.